Hello everyone, my name is Trish McCabe and welcome to Conversations from the School of Hard Knocks. This is a podcast where people from all walks of life will be sharing their stories and the wisdom they have gained from their life experiences. In no way is this show offering any kind of advice or counsel. These conversations will be of a very sensitive nature, so please be respectful in your comments and thank you for watching. Hello, everyone. My name is Trish McCabe. Welcome to Conversations from the School of Hard Knocks. Today, we're going to be doing another segment on, it's kind of an offshoot from Narcissistic Personality Disorder. I have my guest here, Rob, to join me again. Today's going to be a little bit more specific on complex post-traumatic stress disorder from long-term NPD abuse. And so here we are again. Welcome.
Hey, Trisha.
Hey.
Good to be here again.
Yes. We did a little talking before this just to kind of get an idea of the direction we wanted to go in. And basically, I think what this whole thing was centered around what happened to you when you started going through the divorce and that process. And what happened to you after experiencing this abuse for so long. And we talked about, I think the key thing here you said to me was the loss of your core self.
Yeah, yeah, this is something that is very common for people that have to deal with or have dealt or are dealing with covert narcissistic abuse, is that you start to lose yourself. You know, you're not doing the things you used to like to do. It's a slow erosion of your inner being, really. And what happens is complex PTSD is a lot different than just regular post-traumatic stress disorder because it's a constant, it's a daily thing that happens over a long period of time. Months, years, sometimes decades in some cases. Towards PTSD, as we know it, is more like a one-time event. That's a tragic event. You see someone get killed, or a bomb goes off, or something. You're in a war. A lot of veterans have it, the PTSD. But complex PTSD is kind of what it sounds like. It's more a complex version of it. It's like the slow process of post-traumatic stress, and it definitely does damage. There's a lot of different factors of what it does to you when you're in. Mine was through my ex-spouse. I didn't even know what it was called back then. There was no name for it. It was just like I was just dealing with it as it came. But also, it can come from a narcissistic parent. And what happens when it comes from a narcissistic parent is it does sometimes irreparable damage to the children, and their neural pathways change in their brain, and and not for the better. It's not a lifting up like a parent is supposed to do. It's a tearing down that happens continually over the course of their childhood, and by the time they get to be adults, they have a whole mess of problems to go with. So.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. I took the liberty to write down a list of things, and we discussed that, but I thought I'd bring them up. You mentioned depression, isolation,
Sure.
Sleep issues. And for you, you had weight loss and quite.
It affected me. I lost 41 pounds in 3 months because the stress and anxiety was so through the roof from all the drama and chaos and gaslighting and just insanity that, you don't eat. I could hardly keep any food down during the time. And, my doctor said I was going to have a heart attack. And as I started eating, and I'm like, I'm going through this crazy, I don't even know how to deal with it type of thing that's going on right now. And, so eventually I started eating you know, and got healthy. But yeah, depression, the anxiety, you know, the drama, the back and forth, the circular arguments that don't get to any conclusion. You know, you want to have a, you know, adult to adult talk, and good luck with that with someone with NPD or covert NPD, because they don't, there's no logic with that. They just enjoy the argument. They get supply from that. But back to complex PTSD. Yes, there's a lot of things that happen, you know, physiologically to, you know, your body and your mind when you go through this. There's a release of cortisol from the fight or flight response part of our brain. And what happens is that cortisol just keeps being released into our brain, and you know, new pathways are made, you know. But luckily the brain is plastic. There's neuroplasticity, so you can actually heal from this, you know, and grow new neurons. And so, but yeah, the release of cortisol when you're going through this in the fight or flight response, what it does to the brain is the amygdala part of the brain swells, and the hippocampus ends up shrinking. So the amygdala, I have some notes here. The amygdala is it processes the fear and the emotions. You know, that's your fight or flight. That's where, like when an event happens, the cortisol is released and the amygdala first gets, you know, activated. And it gets so overactivated from so much cortisol coming in at the time that it swells, you know, and from all the stress. And then after that, it goes into the hippocampus, which shrinks, and that affects the thinking process too, you know. So there's a lot of stuff going on, you know, during this type of abuse, and you can't really approach it in a logic kind of way. The best thing to do.
It kind of makes sense because you're stressed all the time. There's a bit of stress, well, post-traumatic stress disorder. Your nerves are constantly being jangled.
You're constantly, you're in that fight or flight mode to where you don't know what's coming next from this person. You know, I had some crazy stuff going on, like, you know, the electricity would get shut off. You know, it's like the bill was paid, but you know, letters would be dropped off on the driveway. Just really weird stuff that was just that, you know, people that have NPD, they get an enjoyment out of torture. You know, basically, it's a sadistic thing, and they enjoy seeing people hurt. You know, and it's very damaging, and especially for the kids that have someone that is a malignant narcissist. And they hide it, you know, they look like the great parent on the outside, but when the door closes, it's just a daily damage thing that goes on that the child ends up taking onto themselves. And then when they become adults, they have to unlearn all that negative self-talk, and that's a big thing, self-talk, because we talk to ourselves how we were talked to as kids. And
you start that internal dialogue.
Right. And if you weren't, you know, lifted up, and you were berated, or you never measured up, you know, the narcissist parent will definitely tell you that. And so that takes a toll on the kid's self-esteem and self-worth. And even as an adult, you know, they have a certain way of, you know, not basically keeping you in a state of unbalance, to where you don't feel that solidness in the relationship, and, you know, have that good core sense of self. And so, yeah, it's definitely, especially, you know, if you have codependency, you know, you're definitely a target for someone like this. And yeah,
I can relate. My dad left when I was 5. My stepfather came into our life immediately following, and there was a lot of alcohol and drinking and a lot of abuse, a lot of physical abuse to my mother particularly. Not sometimes, you know, but really more so my mom, and then poverty and instability, and that went on, you know, till you know, high school or whatever. So I can relate to that. It definitely, and what's really difficult is we didn't know this stuff when we were young. You and we didn't know this stuff. And you don't know that you're taking that with you into adulthood. And it just really affects your self-esteem, your ability to make decisions, to trust yourself after a long time. But what's great about now is that we're telling people about this. When we were young, nobody knew this stuff. We were just like, wow, am I crazy? What's wrong with me? How come I keep ending up with somebody like this? This keeps happening. What's that about? So this information is going to help people to realize these things so they can, like you said, regain their core self and, you know, start the healing process. Sorry, didn't mean to go on too long.
No, that's a good point that you bring up, Tricia, because when I was going through all of this was 2008, 2009. Yeah, the internet was there, but there's not the awareness of covert narcissistic abuse that there is today. You know,
Yes, thank God.
You know, yeah, and like I've helped people heal. You know, in my personal life, people that I know get through this, and I tell them, I'm like, get a part of these groups, understand the disorder, because then you'll know what you're dealing with, and you know, gosh. And then a light bulb goes off, and you're like, oh my God, I thought I was the problem the whole time, you know.
And you're not alone. You have a support system.
You're not alone. Now, yeah, that's, you know, I was just talking to someone, you know, same thing, a guy, you know, that I work with, and he was like, you know, he saw the video, and he was like, I thought I was alone in this whole deal. And I said, no, there's awareness. There's a thing called covert narcissistic abuse, and there's a way to heal it, you know. And you know, that's why the education and understanding how it works, because it's so illogical to the logical mind, how it works, that's why you don't get a handle on it if you don't know what it is. And that's how it goes and flies under the radar, and people just, you know, they take the narcissist word for what it is, instead of, yeah, because we're, you know, people normally think the person is a normal person, but they're actually very unstable and do a lot of damage to the people around them. So everyone around them goes to counseling, but not the narcissist. They're you know, they don't, unless there's a motive behind it to do something to someone, then they'll go. But they never go for inner self-reflection or to heal themselves. They go to, you know, some other plan that they have, you know, conjured up. So, but now, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that there's ways to heal. I healed, most of mine was through my faith. You know, that was my, you know, the main thing for me personally. But there are other ways too that are also effective. There's DBT, which is dialectical behavior therapy, is one thing that helps people. And there's also what's called EMDR. I'm not sure what the acronym means. It's something about eye movement. It's an electrical therapy that helps you reprocess those old bad trauma memories. And you're kind of like rerouting your neurons to think differently about those things. So those are two therapies that are, you know, in the world of psychology that are very helpful. I know one person that has had the EMDR, and she said it has helped immensely for
Wow, that's
for her.
incredible. I've never heard of that. What was the first one again? Because I do want to write that.
DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. That's also just thinking about I'm not quite sure, but it's definitely it retrains your thinking about those events. I'm not sure 100% how that works, but these are a couple of different
Revisiting
therapies.
the events. Okay, I'll look into that, but that's fascinating. Now, when you went through your divorce and everything, how long ago was that?
I filed for divorce in 2008.
Okay.
And yeah, so, and then it took a year to go through. And that was, yeah, when you say you're going to leave a narcissist, they're like losing their main supply. They've been feeding off of you. And so they just, all the claws come out, instead of saying, hey, yeah, it didn't work out, let's go our own separate ways and be adults. It's you're the bad person when they've actually been doing all the damage, the cheating and all the craziness, and you're like going, wait, what are you doing? And so they flip the whole script because they can't do that inner and work, or there's just so much old unresolved shame from childhood that they've not worked through, that they've learned how to wall themselves off from that part of them, the true self, and emotions too. And vulnerability is, they just do not want to be vulnerable because they've been abused themselves. Like my ex-wife, her dad was abusive to her, and she would tell me some things, and I was like, whoa,
it makes
it's
sense
brutal.
though now. Yeah.
Now after it all, yeah, it makes sense now. But I mean, I really wish, back then would have had the groups and the knowledge and the awareness that's out today about this disorder, because I suffered. I mean, when you don't eat, and then if you have a child with a person like this, then it's the gift that keeps on giving. There's games always played, so they get supply from, they use the child as a third party to go and to get.
Were you given the guilt trip? Did you feel guilty? I mean, I felt incredibly guilty, but I knew in the depth of my soul, I had to get out of that relationship to save myself. I mean,
Right.
I truly, I took that oath. That meant the world to me. But at the same time, I knew if I didn't do it, I was going to go under. I think.
Oh yeah, and not only that, my family saw it too. They thought that she was going to kill me through a heart attack because I was so stressed and I was so unlike myself that you see today, because I've been healed. That they're like, I was like a different person because it was just an insidious form of abuse that I never dealt with before, and I didn't know how to handle it. And I had all my eggs, in one basket. And yeah, I was old school, got married in the church and all that good stuff. And, I took my vows serious, and it just got to be so crazy that I had to get out. I didn't have a choice. So
you had to save yourself.
It was pretty much life or death, I mean, it wasn't like she was pointing a gun to my head, but it was just this constant barrage.
Toxic. So toxic.
Oh God.
Yeah.
It was, I could, and it was so confusing and
stressful.
Yeah,
Very
stressful. So much anxiety. You're just on the edge.
Anxiety.
You don't know what's going to happen next. And yeah, it's definitely an evil thing to
go through.
I made it through, and this is why I'm here, is to help people understand that when they go through this trauma, that the after effects are going to be there for a while, and you got to learn about the disorder. You got to learn about complex PTSD. I mean, if this person is there's a scale, a malignant narcissist, that they're, you know, to the sociopathic, psychopathic scale, which is what I was dealing with, this is going to affect you for a while, especially if you have children with them. You're going to be re-triggered over and over, like, you know, and it's rough. So you need to know you have to educate yourself on this. And this is because once you know how it operates, then it's not so mysteriously ominous over you. You're kind of can, you know, maneuver with it and understand it, and you know, get away from them if you can. And if you have children with them, there's other ways to deal with it as well. You know, a lot of boundary making and minimal contact, because
minimal conversation, because
yes,
what I've learned about them, man, you can't give them anything, not a thing.
no, they'll use it
and
against
sweet.
you later. Yeah, even
Yeah.
if yeah,
Yes.
even if like at the beginning of the, you know, a relationship with a narcissist, you'll open up to them about something you're vulnerable with. What they will do is they will come around later and stab you in the back with it and use it against you. And you're like, wait, I trusted you with this information, and now you're using it. So yeah, it's horrific. You know, but they get that supply, and they have that sadistic intent that goes with that. Yeah, definitely, definitely not a good thing. So that's why I'm here, to help people, because it was so hurtful, and it was so hard to go through for me and my son's still going through it, you know, that it needs to be talked about, you know, and they don't stop.
I think the most powerful thing about what you're doing is you're giving people, empaths, you know, the ability to empower themselves, you know, to understand you can't change a narcissist and let go of that part of it, and only focus on the part you can change. And that's your part, our part, you know.
Yes.
And realizing how we're playing into it and how to pull the plug on that. We can't,
right.
We're not going to fix them. We can't make them do anything. You can't with anyone, but especially a narcissist of any sort. But you can choose how you're going to handle it. And that's what's so great about this work that you've done. I think obviously you've read a lot of books. You've been doing this for quite a while now, right?
Yeah, I've had to, I have my son. I love my son very much, and I love being a father. And so I've done, research the DSM-5 and various doctors that specialize in this to get a better understanding of, how it works and my place in it, and how to, deal with it, even years later. It's the gift that keeps on giving if you have children with someone like this. And they don't stop, they'll keep going as long until you draw the line in the sand, and they just keep going. They don't have that internal, hey, that's too much, I would never do that to anyone, because they're not in touch with that empathic side. They don't have the empathy there, which is another thing, part of the brain that is affected, and why they have this from their abuse is that, they're part of the brain that processes empathy, that opens up the doorways. It's definite. There's not enough gray matter in that. It's the anterior insula part of the brain for them to be able to even understand, have compassion or empathy if they're doing damage to someone. They just keep going because they don't know what it feels like, because they're shut off from that empathy thing.
Yeah, the shut off. Yeah. And one thing that you mentioned when we were talking, which I just think is excellent, and I wasn't aware of this, is that the physiological aspects of creates illnesses. You said diabetes,
Yeah,
fibromyalgia, cutting. If it's like teenagers, they become self-abusive.
right.
You mentioned
Yeah.
how that happens.
Yeah, like with a child, what happens is they'll numb out. You know, the abuse is so heavy for them to deal with that, you know, and it's daily drip. It's like a dripping of a faucet that they just numb out. They can't be perfect. You know, usually the narcissist wants them perfect because it's a reflection. They see their kids as an extension of themselves instead of like a separate entity that they've been blessed to raise. They're like, this is a part of me, and you know, they want to make sure that everything is perfect because they're always putting on that false perfect persona. But yeah, they will. Yeah, that's what happens. Kids they will cut to feel. They want to feel something because they numb out, or they'll pull their hair, or they'll pull eyelashes or whatever. And a lot of times those things get diagnosed as other things other than the complex PTSD, you know. And, you know, a lot of times the complex PTSD will be diagnosed as, what is it? I forgot the name of it, but it gets misdiagnosed. And what it really is the complex PTSD. So, oh, I'm sorry, it was borderline. Sometimes people that have borderline personality disorder get,
Right.
sometimes by professionals, it is misread, um, interpolated with complex PTSD. So yeah, so that's the thing, is it's about bringing this awareness from people that have done the brain scans, the studies, and you know, the professionals that have worked in this field that I get my information from. And it definitely, yeah, the fibromyalgia, there's studies done
Yeah.
that later on in life, fibromyalgia will come up, diabetes will come up. Um, it damages your body and, you know, the mind and everything connected in between. So,
What you just said there made me think of something that someone sent to me. It's like a distinction. On one side, it says, what they told me I had, and here's the list here, and I could be accurate or not, but I think it's pertinent to what we're talking about. Major depression, bipolar type 2, agoraphobia, social anxiety, panic disorder, avoidance personality disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, impulsive control, disorder associations, ADD. And then in the other side, they say what I actually had was unresolved trauma, nutritional imbalance, lack of
sure.
purpose, lack of nature, lack of boundaries, lack of community, lack of health, healthy coping tools, exceptional creativity and intuitive abilities.
Right.
I forgot to
Yeah.
tell you
I
that I
mean,
have this. It's really
we're
cool.
all humans. I mean, and everyone's on, doctors are human too. They make errors. And, you know, I'm sure they tried their best, you know, as well. But as more information comes out, more studies are done, you know, on the brain and you know, personality disorders and, you know, the A, B, and C clusters of, you know, mental illness, then, you know, sometimes it's a shot in the dark. You're looking at behaviors and then trying to assess something to that behavior, basically. It's not something like you can go into and maybe find someone has a heart issue and it's like, oh, here it is. It's the aorta. You know, it's like you're looking at, you know, from what I can tell, psychology is, you know, trying to figure out from behaviors what's going on, you know, and a lot of them are pretty sharp about that. Um, and it's very fascinating field. It fascinates me too, as well, at learning about these things and how the brain and people work and their histories and everything. But yeah, that's misdiagnosis. I mean, that's so easy just to throw a label on someone. This is why I'm very careful You know, I'm always learning and still learning, but yeah, it's easy to throw a label and you got this because of that. And it could actually be completely something else, you know? So,
there are just so many variables, so many factors, depending on the degree of what you've been exposed to as a child. And then, of course, whatever you experience going into adulthood and what comes with that. Like, okay, your childhood, and then you get married and you're going through what you're going through, what I've gone through, and many others. So, and there's varying degrees to that. So it's not going to be perfect for every person. I think that, I don't know if you can just say one type of diagnosis for everyone, you know, just because it's so, there's just so many different levels of.
yeah, it sounds good. Like, hey, this and this and this, but until you really get a good handle on it, and study these things, you don't really know, you know? So yeah, that's why I'm careful about putting labels or whatever. But sometimes when you have, when you have to put a label on something, then sometimes you have to do that, you know? And thank God, because if I didn't know what I know now, I mean, who knows, you know, people just go on through life not knowing these things and they don't heal. And that's the whole, you know, that's half the healing is knowing what you've been dealing with. You know, if you've been going through a trauma situation, as a child or as a spouse or in any type of relationship, if you know how it operates and you could see that in another person and understand that and understand your part in it,
Yes.
and process it all and make a complete, you know,
you can
story.
Catch yourself. You can catch yourself. Oh, I'm doing it again. Or you can even catch yourself when you have a negative, repetitive thought. You can stop and go, no, why do I keep saying that to myself? And you can
absolutely
you can examine it and go, okay. And that's the most challenging part.
Yeah.
is going, okay, I have to stop doing this. Yes. It's so all the time. It's running all the time. It's very difficult.
Doing the work to get that self-talk to say something other than what you're used to saying. Rumination, you know, when you're ruminating on thoughts and they keep coming and coming and coming, you know, that was something I had to work through too, you know, retraining my thought processes to healthy town instead of, you know, the old ones that I used to do, you know. And
it's a daily thing. Sorry.
It's a daily thing. Yeah, you have to be, you have to keep that awareness going, you know, keep yourself in check until you get into that new pattern. Because when it comes up to me now, I'm just like, nope, we got a new, I don't go there anymore. I think in a different way now, because those old ways weren't serving me. They weren't healing me. They were just keeping me either plateaued or just on that lower roller coaster of, you know, uncertainty, you know. And once you get the education from people that know about this disorder and its effects, such as complex PTSD, then, you know, that's what really helps is getting the information. Like I said, it's like 50% of it's knowing how the thing works. You know, the other half is, you know, knowing your part into it, you know, like codependency. You know, recovering codependency issues, you know, like, cause I was always, you know, placating, you know, and like, okay, like you become a people pleaser and you're like, okay, I'll take care of everything, you know, and you're just kind of wired that way from childhood. And so that was my part, you know, in the equation. And narcissists love people like that. They love, you know, empaths, and they love people that will do for them, do, because they love taking, you know.
People pleasers.
Yeah, and if you don't know that you're doing that all the time, yeah, me too. And if you're like always on the people pleasing mode, just natural, yeah, it's totally exhausting. You're denying yourself, your own growth, your own respect, your own boundaries, you know, and you have to learn that stuff, you know, if you haven't been doing that as you know, at all, or as good of a job as he used to. So for sure.
I would love, because we're getting close to the end here. I would love to do another show, if you're up for it, on recovery, codependent recovery, how the
Absolutely.
codependent can help themselves, and what that looks like more specifically. I mean, I know that you've read books and from that, I'm sure you've derived at a lot of different ways that you could help yourself. Daily routines, healthy things that you can do to help restore your core self. I like that you said that, your core self. I love that.
Right.
I think that's
Who we
great.
are. That's who we
Yeah,
are. And we
who you
always have
really
to be,
are before all this happened. Sorry.
yeah, you want to be true to that, and you know, be authentic. And because if you're trying to be something you're not, you're never going to heal. You know, you got to accept yourself, foibles and all, you know, your strengths, weaknesses, everything. And you have to learn how to love yourself, because you know, you can't depend on someone else to do that for you. And you know, you got to love yourself before you can be able to healthily love someone else, and not, you know, have it be in that codependent trap that's so unhealthy to be in, you know.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people really don't even know what that looks like. You say, "Oh, you don't love yourself." Oh, yes, I do. I love myself. See, I just said I love myself, but it's what you do that reinforces that. And if you haven't been taught it, then you haven't been taught it. You know, you don't have any reference. So that's the other reason why we're doing this. I know. Is to
Absolutely.
help
We're
people
here,
get there.
here to heal. And I want, you know, I want to be able to, you know, have my pain go to some good, you know, out there in the world, and have some people recognize, well, hey, this is me, or this is what I went through. I felt some of these, you know, anxiety or depressive episodes after breaking up with someone. You see these patterns, associate it to yourself, and then you could be like, wow, this is okay, I need to work on this or that, you know, maybe boundaries, or maybe a little more self-love, or you know, and just kind of like fine tune your life. Or you know, if your life is like mine was in chaos for, you know, going through all the divorce stuff, and then it was kind of rough after that because you're still learning and dealing with it, then there's that level too. You know, we're all at different levels, at different paths of awareness in our lives, you know. And I think this information, you know, can help, you know, people that are on, you know, different, you know, paths at different times, you know, at
Different
their levels
levels of understanding.
and awareness.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's not
Awareness.
about pointing the finger and hating narcissists. It's not about hating, none of that. It's all, you know, you do it in love and understanding.
I
It's
love
just that
that.
they're toxic to be around, and they will take you down if you don't if you let them, you know. But you know, that they're victims of their abuse too, but they've just decided to take it out on their surroundings instead of internalize, work it through. You know, they shut, like I said earlier, they shut that part of themselves off. So they need that constant validation from the outside world, and they'll get it if it's going to be in a good way or a bad way, you know, for that validation.
Yeah. Yes. And it can be scary sometimes even. But I would
Absolutely.
love to do, if you are up for it, I'd love to do one more segment. And then if you decide you want to continue to do this with me, I'd love it. I would love to talk about recovery, codependence recovering, and how you get there, and what that looks like, you know, the codependent's role in this specifically, and even a little bit more how it comes about, so that we can be more clear in our daily choices, that we're doing it again. We're people pleasing
Yeah.
again. Oh, there we go again. I,
Right.
for one, I have the thing about apologizing for myself for no reason all the time. Just, you know, I still, it's a daily thing that you have to, oh,
But
no,
you're catching it though. That's the
I'm
good
catching.
thing.
Yes, you
Yeah,
know.
that's called in the community mindfulness, being
Oh, I
mindful
like that.
and keeping yourself in check. Yeah, because you know, I'm part of several different healing communities for this type of abuse, and being mindful is for codependence, it's essential, you know, keeping yourself in check, like you just did, like, why am I saying that? But being loving to yourself, like, oh, I'm doing that again, you know, silly me, instead of, oh, I'm doing that again, you're a bad person.
Oh my gosh.
That internal talk, it makes a difference, all the difference in the world, you know, so.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I would love to come back and do another
Okay.
episode
Yay.
on more healing and, you know, the codependent part of, you know, how this all works with NPD abuse, covert NPD abuse. I got to put the covert in there
Covert.
because it flies under the radar, it's hidden, and, you know, that's how.
That's the key way that
that's
it
the
works.
key.
That's
yeah,
the
if
key.
it's hidden, you know, it can wreak havoc, you know, for as long as it's hidden, you know. But if it's out in the open, like, and people know about it, people be like, wait a second here, I think I know someone that, you know, told me about this. I'm gonna take a rain check on that next date or whatever, you know.
Yes.
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I know I just thank you just because it's amazing that we're doing this. It means the world to me. I'm very appreciative of your time, especially you worked all day long and you did it anyway, really tired and
I'm a trooper, man.
Yeah,
I'm here to serve, like, you know, I've said before, and you know, whatever it takes to get the message out there for other people to heal and grow is, you know, whatever it takes is what it takes.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. So till next time, thank you again. Have a great evening and we'll talk soon.
Great. We'll see you on the next show.
See you
Thanks,
on
Tricia.
the next show. Thank you. Bye.